As a result of the pandemic, the DWP established youth employment hubs nationally and here in Lancashire. What they wanted to do was to create these youth-friendly environments where young people could receive support through the job centre, but also other partners and support services in one place, in an environment that was friendly, welcoming and supportive. So we had conversations with the DWP to see how we could support these youth employment hubs with physical wellbeing support for you. By bringing in one of our trusted partners, Lancashire Mind, we could provide more of a holistic wraparound support around wellbeing, physically and mentally. In April 2021, we started that journey outside of East Lancashire in Preston, where we worked with the DWP at Preston College. What we wanted to do was really test and learn this approach of combining physical and mental wellbeing support for young people and how we could do that. That role was around not only co-designing activities and engagement opportunities for young people, but our role as Active Lancashire to influence partners and stakeholders around how they interact and how they deliver their services. And ultimately, that's what our role is, to embed movement and physical activity into lots of different service provision across Lancashire. In terms of what went really well at Preston College was our role to influence the partners that we were working with. An example of that is we had conversations and we wanted to express the simplicity of Lancashire Mind incorporating movement into their wellbeing coaching. So just like we're doing now, walking and talking, it's so simple, it's so straightforward, but I'm outside, I'm in nature, it's peaceful, it's calm. I'm taking myself off, away from the norm. I'm taking myself off into a place where I can be at peace with myself. So as our influencing role continued over the coming months, and we adapted the role of Lancashire Mind with our switch from Preston College to the Yes Hub, we connected with the Super Slow Way, and we again influenced local partners to see the value and benefit of connecting the physical and mental wellbeing support, to the point where Super Slow Way have committed to fund the capacity of Lancashire Mind for a period of time as we trial this approach further here in Nelson. What really surprised me, first of all, working in an environment with the DWP, was how restricted they were, quite literally, on how much or how little flexibility they had to move, to adapt to new processes and working practices. They were literally almost tied behind. What surprised me was the high demand for mental wellbeing coaching. So clearly a lot of the young people who were furthest from the job market were vulnerable, had issues, had a massive amount of need to be supported by someone around their mental well-being. The add-on from that would then be to connect the physical well-being. At Preston College, young people weren't presenting in that space because of a lot of barriers and blockers to them actually going into the hub. So for me, because there was a limit on face-to-face engagement, I needed to be an observer. I needed to develop my understanding and knowledge on how Lancashire Mind deliver their mental wellbeing support, but also just to allow things to move at a pace without dictating too much, allow them to move as they were moving naturally. So I needed to be an observer, a listener, and that sometimes was just listening to conversations that were going on in and around both Preston and the Yes Hub, listening to some of the conversations that young people were having with the DWP and mainly support workers at the Yes Hub. And a really good example of developing that learning was a young person describing how a morning table tennis session helped them to develop structure in their life, in their daily routine. I suppose what was really different for me was taking my time and understanding my place and my role in all of this, in both Preston at the college and at the Yes Hub as well. It's allowing things to move at the pace that was being dictated by the pandemic, by the situation, and ultimately by the young people we were trying to support. For me, the biggest challenge undoubtedly was the lack of face-to-face engagement with young people at Preston College. Because of the fact that young people just weren't present in that space, just made it very, very difficult to be able to develop relationships with them, to be able to understand their needs through that co-design, and then be able to deliver subsequent physical offers that supported their mental well-being. It was really, really difficult. At times as well, working at Preston College, within that system of the college, it was really challenging, even just to get space. At Preston College, the hub lacked leadership. It lacked an organisation taking the lead for that hub. On the flip side, working in the Yes Hub, it's the opposite. There's very much clear connectivity. There is a huge amount of face-to-face engagement, which enables young people to be supported, but to be able to develop relationships of understanding, relationships of trust and support, and to be able to understand their needs and how myself and others can best meet those needs. So some of the key learnings that I've taken from these last 12 months is don't make assumptions. Don't make assumptions in terms of what something's going to look like, how it's going to roll out, or as well, what people are thinking. It's been really interesting to see the difference between Preston and the Pendle Yes Hub, and the key to that as well is the support of the link workers, the support workers. So Dave, Christy, Dave Edwards, Marta, they are essential to make a youth employment hub work. They are that mechanism of consistent support, consistent hand-holding, and also being able to connect young people into other services, other partners, other opportunities, other places and spaces. All the time that they connect with something else, they're able to come back into that central, consistent point of support, which is the Active Lancashire team, the Active Lancashire support network of those key workers. Another key learning that's come out for a recent piece with Yes Hub colleagues and Lancashire Mind is that before any young person can be supported into training or education or an interview or employment, the first thing we need to look at is themselves, the individual. How can we help the individual? What needs do they have? And that's where we look at that wellbeing support. Do they need to see someone from Lancashire Mind? Do they need to access something that's going to give them a bit of routine in their lives and get them out, meet new people, and just have some fun in their lives and give them purpose? So the first thing that the staff do at the Yes Hub is they concentrate on the individual, the person. If we can get the person in a good place, feeling happier, feeling healthier, feeling more confident, more resilient, then they can move into training and employment, education, and we move them along on that journey. So 12 months into this piece of work, where are we? What's happening? April 2022, we're now an established partner with the Super Slowway as part of their Linear Park programme. So what we want to do is utilise the spaces alongside the canal, and behind me here you've got the Morrisons in Nelson. Morrisons have kindly opened up this whole green space alongside the canal and an indoor space, which is a disused car park, to be a space for the community to use for all sorts of opportunities, whether it be physical, whether it be mental, whether it be growing projects, or just social interaction and engagement. And what we're looking to do is connect this with what's gone on at the Yes Hub with our collaboration with Lancashire Mind. So we're trying to get young people to come down here to engage in things like kayaking, paddleboarding, things on the canal. We want young people to use these green spaces behind us to connect with nature through forest schools, bushcraft, team building exercises, and we've got opportunities to do all sorts of things like archery, street football, art, creativity, like I say, environmental type of things, biodiversity growing projects. The opportunities are, very vast and wide. What's really good in terms of our influencing and our role is we've been able to show and explain the benefits of that physical and mental well-being support for young people and how it can connect into the work of the Super Slow Way, to the point where they have funded the continuation of our collaboration with Lancashire Mind from April 2022 onwards for a 4-month period. So we're seeing how things go at the moment. Again, we continue to test and learn. We continue to explore this piece of work, and all the time we're learning. Things are working well, things aren't working well, but we adapt, we move on, and ultimately the Yes Hub has been an unbelievable success, and we're just trying to make things even better as we move forward through 2022.